Across the rural landscape, they once stood as icons of America's farm economy. But farming methods as well as building techniques have changed dramatically over the years, and what once could be seen on every farmstead is rapidly disappearing from the countryside. Friends of Minnesota Barns is an organization dedicated to the preservation of historic barns and offers alternatives to the put a match to it attitude that some people have toward old barns. They provide networking, ideas, encouragement, and examples of preserved barns. Workshops, barn tours, and their statewide Barn of the Year awards are designed to accomplish those goals. In 2011, Beth and Willard Jacobson of rural Evansville were recognized by Friends of Minnesota Barns under the category Most Generational Barn. We recently visited Beth at the old farmstead to learn more about the award and the farm's history.
It's from an organization called Friends of Minnesota Barns. And what the purpose of the organization is for the people in Minnesota that still have these old antique barns to keep them repaired so they don't just go down. And they have a number of categories people can enter their barns in. For one thing, we do have many people in the state of Minnesota that are doing a wonderful job of repairing barns and making them into a lot of other different things, like a dance hall even, a place to live in, or maybe a woodworking shop or something like that. We haven't done any farming here for 20 years, I guess now. We farmed for 41 years, and we had 100 head of cows, and with calves, of course, and always every year, and then we had 300 head of sheep. We never used it for milking, of course. Oh, we had one milk cow, Susie. And Grandpa always milked her, but otherwise we didn't do that. My husband wasn't going to milk cows. We had just beef cows through the years. So the only thing it would have been used for is wintering. You know, we had sheep on one side and cattle on the other. Especially if a cow was ready to calf or something like that, we delivered a few calves. I helped a few back in those days too, yeah. It was built in 1879. By great-grandpa John Jacobson, who came from Norway with his mother and family. They came in 1869, actually. The father died of pneumonia, and they lost 3 kids, all within a short time from the fever, I think it's typhoid, that they would get on the ship. So this mother lost all of that down there, and then she and 3 sons came with stagecoach up here to Minnesota in about 1870 then. In the beginning, of course, they made a sod home up there on the hill, got through the winter, and then they started in the spring to cut the wood, and they made a log home actually that stood right here to begin with, and a log barn that would have been down there, I believe, because it was next to this. And this was logged to begin with, too, this building, red building you see behind me. That's a granary, and it has an upstairs even. It's interesting. There's old trunks up there from Norway. We brought some of them into the house. So that was the earliest buildings made. And the building that's right directly behind you there is a milk house combination with a granary. On the second floor is where they had the grain, and down below is where they called it the milk house, and they milk cows by hand in those early years. And there's a tank in there where the water would have been for the cream cans and so forth, and the cream separator I think is still even in there. Those 3 buildings plus the barn are the original buildings. The other buildings we've added through the years. This house that we live in today was built in 1907. This has been remodeled at least a couple times. It was a brick house originally, and they took all the brick off so we could insulate it, you know. But there were 10 children in this home to begin with, so there's been a lot of pitter-patter of the little feet. And when we moved up here, people were asking me if I was going to fill the house up the same way, and I had 6 kids, so I did pretty good, I think. Like someone said the other day, if those walls could talk,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of history in that house.
Sure.
And in the barn over here now, too, that was built, Grandpa, of course, would have made that with his son. Like this house that we remodeled, a lot of people, when we moved up here from the cities, young people especially, were tearing down their houses and barns or whatever and building up brand new homes. But the carpenter, when he looked at this house, said it was still very square, had 4 bedrooms. So I thought, oh, I've got, you know, I think we'll just do with this one, which we have done then through the years. And I'm very happy I still have it, because now when the grandkids come home and everyone else at Christmas time or the holidays, we have plenty of room for everybody. My granddaughter has a daughter, and yep, she's our 7th generation now that belongs to our family here. So it's a century farm, of course. It's been many people that have put a lot of work into this place through the years, you know. The building right behind us here was a wood house. So of course they fired with wood. In fact, when I first moved up here, I had a wood kitchen stove. The reason why we moved here is my mother-in-law passed away from cancer. So we moved to be up here with Grandpa William. I was firing with that wood stove for X amount of years, and Grandpa would always bring in the wood.
Sure.
You know, it was kept nice and dry on that building. It was a gas with the wood, so I had like 2 ovens even. So when I was getting company on Sunday, it was no problem. I could put one thing in one oven and something in the other. Yeah. That's what they scalded the hog with when they were going to butcher. But I know they would make head cheese. In fact, my husband talked me into making head cheese when we first moved here. I had to learn to eat a lot of different kind of food that I wasn't used to. I mean, a lot of wild meat and so forth, because my husband was a hunter. There's a hay rake, the horse hay rake over there by the barn. It's on display, and over here we have a plow, a one-bottom plow. I think that was used with a horse right over there by the ash tree.
I'm glad Beth shared stories of the Jacobson farm with us. And I'm glad the old barn is still standing, a reminder of our pioneer history. Perhaps you're interested in preserving or restoring an old barn. For more information, you can find Friends of Minnesota Barns online.